Well, another game for Derby County, and that is the second defeat of the season. Both defeats coming away from home at this point in the campaign, as Watford come from behind after 3 minutes to beat Derby County 2-1 in what was, I don't want to say a fairly even game, but it certainly was a game which could have probably gone either way. And I think if Derby had came away with a point, I think it certainly would have been well deserved. Now, we started the game off really, really well. Ebou Adams with a lovely cushioned volley from the edge of the box into, I think it was the bottom right-hand corner. Really, really nice finish from Ebou, who stepped into the team. Now, obviously, we're missing some big names today with Kane Wilson and Erin Cashin, the known injuries. They were both out. So Sonny Bradley and Ryan Nyambi stepped up. We then also lost Ben Osborne in this game as well. He wasn't available with a bit of a calf issue. He should be back for Bristol City, according to Paul Warne's post-match. But it's a bit disappointing, the result. And I'm getting to why in a moment. We're also going to talk about a few things regarding transfers and players we could be after. And we're also going to have a little bit of some say on Jacob Zetterstrom, who has finally made his debut, as well as Jerry Yates. But before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Go and follow me on all my socials and make sure you turn on that notification bell. Hit the like button as well to stay tuned for all of the latest Derby County and EFL, Championship and League One content. But shall we get back into the match review? Now, it was one of them games where obviously Watford are one of them teams in this division at the moment who I believe they've got a 100% record. I don't even think it's just in the league. I think it's in all competitions. And to go 1-0 up so early on, and it was really good to start. I think we started bright and we took our chance early doors, and then it just felt as if we sort of got a bit cagey. And I feel as if that's something which we're going to have to deal with Derby County this season. I think if we do go back to sort of looking at the Middlesbrough performance, I think we scored early, sat in, and I think there's a big difference doing that at home and then doing that away. I think at home, you've got your fans behind you who can build you up. And I know some people say, well, that has no real effect, really. But in my opinion, it really does. And I think the players will admit that having 30,000 people singing to back you and screaming at you will help you. Whereas when you're away from home and you're in somebody else's backyard, it's a little bit more tedious, a little bit more tense. Now, I felt for the most part we played okay. I think something we have got to do, though, is we can't really be going into these games and being comfortable conceding 70% possession to the opposition. I think when I checked during the game towards the back end, I think it was on something like 33-34%. And as much as I completely understand being a counter-attacking side, I think you can't really let that happen. You can't really allow the team you're playing against to have 70% possession, well, 60-70% possession. I just don't think that is ever going to work out well, especially when you're coming up against teams like the likes of Watford, like Middlesbrough. We're going to face Burnley, Luton, Leeds at some point, and giving those teams with the firepower they have a lot of the ball, for me, just doesn't quite work well. Now, obviously, Sonny Bradley stepped up for Erin Cashin versus Middlesbrough. I felt today, I have to say, I think he was at fault for Watford's equaliser. As the ball comes in, he sort of lets his man run off his shoulder, gives him a wide open. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a really good finish by the Watford player, but it's just one of those for me where it's stoppable. I think if Bradley follows his runner, or if Nelson... if there's communication for Nelson, I think we probably don't concede that goal. Have to feel a bit unlucky for Zetterstrom with that one, because there's not really a great deal he could have done when you've got a player in a wide open space who sort of just, well, it was sort of like a side bicycle kick sort of thing. Obviously a really good finish, nothing to take away from Watford or their creation of that goal, but it wasn't as if we were getting battered. It wasn't as if we was getting sliced open. I felt at times very comfortable looking on at the game. Obviously, being away from home, I was watching on a bit of a stream. It wasn't necessarily a great one. Kept losing it at times, so I didn't see their second goal. But If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One content, which is going to be heading your way across the course of this season. We've had some really good support so far, and if you want to stick around and see those videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. But let's get back to the match review. From the commentary from Ed Dawes on BBC Radio Derby, it sort of was blocked by one of our players, fell to then Moussa Sissoko, who puts it into the back of the net, which obviously is a bit disappointing, but that's just one of those things that happens in football. We'll benefit from some of them further down the line. Now, the big question really has to be is this how Derby going to play all season? What teams are we actually going to come out against? Because when we play Pompey, Oxford, are we going to play similar? When we play the likes of Plymouth, those other teams that are sort of going to be down and around the bottom half of the table, how are we going to play? Because I know Watford and Middlesbrough are probably going to be in and around the playoffs, so how we've played today probably isn't representative of like what we're really going to do. Now, obviously, some big names were missing: Ben Osborne, Cashin, Wilson, obviously. It's the first start for Jerry Yates, who I thought at times looked a little bit lost. Obviously, Zetterstrom had his moment, I think it was in the first half, right towards the end of the first half, where he nearly gave away a goal, but he did really well to recover. It's just a little bit disappointing to come away from this game with a 2-1 loss. Obviously, Watford are going to be up there this season. They're certainly not sort of in our bracket of the league, in my opinion. But it's just one of those for me where you look at what they bring in off the bench, you look at what we've got, and we didn't even fill our bench today, which is obviously a little bit disappointing because I know sort of bringing up a 18, 19-year-old from the 21s or the 18s or something like that isn't necessarily someone you're going to bring on, but it could have been a great experience for one of those players. And I do think it's just a little bit disappointing that Paul Warne didn't do that. Maybe he was making a statement. Maybe it means we'll get some players in, but it's one of those for me where I'm just a little bit disappointed. You could have had a Nairo McAndrew, a Cruz Allen, a Lennon Wilden. Obviously, Lennon Wilden played last night. Cruz Allen played last night. McAndrew might have played for the 18s this morning, I'm not entirely sure, but he wasn't involved in the 21s. But surely there's someone that could have travelled up and sat on the bench. Now, I know it's sort of an odd thing to ask, but I'm sure no academy player is going to turn down that opportunity to be involved in a first-team setting in the warm and have a potential opportunity to come onto the pitch. So it's one of those for me where I'm just a little bit disappointed that Warne didn't fill the bench because there is players in that academy that may end up in and around our first team. So for me, it's just one of those where you've just got to put someone on the bench. Like, it might not have been a Lennon Wilden, it might have had to be a midfielder, so maybe a Harry Hawkins, maybe a defender like Jack Perry, Kai Robinson, Dan Cox, bring one of them or something. Obviously, sending Robinson out on loan to Hartlepool means he couldn't have sit on the bench, but it's just one of those for me. Now, if we do go on to talking about transfers, now obviously we spoke previously over the past couple of days about a potential signing of Gustav Lagerbielek from Celtic and the potential signing of Liam Cooper on a free transfer. Now, I find it really interesting that in Paul Warne's post-match he said that he thinks there'll be 2 loan signings and a free agent. Is that free agent going to be Liam Cooper? That's something you'll have to let me know. I think it would be a good signing to add some experience in and around the defensive area. I think if we could get 2 defenders in, that would be really nice, but I don't think that's going to happen. Paul Warne does expect to have someone in before the game on Tuesday night. He believes that will be a midfielder. We'll have to see what happens with that one. It's obviously one of those where we've been saying we're signing a midfielder for probably the last 2 or 3 weeks now, so I'll believe it when it happens, and obviously I'll cover it when it does. It's one of those for me that's a little bit difficult. Obviously we're still looking for some extra firepower and some extra bodies in the defensive line. Paul Warne admitted that again today. Obviously you look at our squad, you look at what's on the bench and things like that, and you do just see a bit of a problem because we just don't have any strength in depth. And you think if we lose Mendes-Lang, if we lost Mendes-Lang and Caden Jackson in the same game, we're then stuffed out wide. We'd probably end up having to go to a diamond or a 3-5-2 or something like that. So it's a bit of an interesting one. But right now we couldn't even play a back 3 really. because then you'd have no cover at left back. You've only really got Joe Ward at right wing back. So you're sort of in a bit of a sticky situation with that one as well. So it's just one of those. It's difficult, really, coming off the back of a defeat to be positive. But I do think we showed for large parts of the game that we can compete at this level. I do think we deserved a point out of the game. But obviously, if you're not going to create chances, you're not going to score goals. And as much as Ebou Adams and Sonny Bradley missed a couple of big chances, it's just one of those for me where we're just a little bit unlucky today. So on to the next one. There'll be a match preview out for Barrow over the next couple of days. There'll also be a Championship and League One review video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.